Hello and welcome back to video 2 on tissues. We're going to be looking at connective tissues with this video. Before I make this large, I wanted to show you in your notes that you've got in your digital notebook for this. There are words over here that you're going to drag and drop into these gray boxes. A couple of them are on the side. So for example, to move that, sorry, no, stuttering. Click on it once, and then you can click on this little dot here, and it'll twirl the label. And so then you can drag it and just orient it however you want to be straight. So I'm going to show you how to do that in case you didn't know how to do that. All right, I will now enlarge this so you can see better. Okay, connective tissue is the kind of tissue that makes up a bunch of different areas of our body. Before we look at that, we're going to look at these main characteristics characteristics that all connective tissue has in common. First off, the cell body is what secretes the proteins, and they are far apart from each other. There's a lot of material in between the cells. It's very different from epithelial tissue that you saw in the previous video. Okay, the next thing deals with the ground substance. This is all the stuff that's in between it. Very often it's between the cell bodies. Very often it's gel-like, and it is secreted by the cells that are there. They all have fibers and protein threads that hold the tissues together. And one example is collagen. That should have an N on the end of it. I didn't do a very good job editing my words, so be sure you put collagen with an N. Different connective tissues will have different amounts of fibers and proteins, or different types of fibers and proteins to make them very hard or more soft. In this picture, I've listed the types of cells that make this kind of connective tissue up here. So we'll look at the first one is bone. And this is the label you're going to drag. Osseous, that's the name of the tissue. Osseous tissue, OSS, root word means bone. And this is what it looks like in the microscope. The cells secrete ground substance, fibers, collagen, and fluid. And this ground substance will become calcified, which means it's like calcium. That's the hard substance, the mineral that makes up your bones and makes it so hard. And so the fact that the type of fibers they have make the bone very strong and also very flexible. If you ever watch videos, slow-mo, of people getting hurt and falling, they don't always break a bone, but it looks like they almost could break a bone. That's because of the flexibility of the osseous tissue. Fibrocytes is another type of cell that makes up what's called connective tissue proper. There's one kind called loose, and it's called loose connective tissue because the cells are very far apart, and it's more flexible tissue. Adipose is the first kind, and that is what your fat cells are, that kind of tissue. They have very large vacuoles. They function to insulate and warm the body and also provide nutrients to other cells. So that's your adipose tissue. A second type of loose connective tissue is what's called areolar. It has a gel-like ground substance, and it is made up of elastic fibers and collagen. The third kind is called reticular. It has a gel-like ground substance, a loose network of fibers, and it's found in lymphatic tissue like your spleen, your your thymus gland, and your lymph nodes. Then the second kind is called dense. Something is dense, that means it's got a lot of stuff packed in one spot. And so you have regular dense tissue, and the fact that all the fibers run in the exact same direction, that one gives it a lot of strength. So this is where the collagen fibers are lined up in that one direction, and you find that in tendons and ligaments, which need to be strong because they're holding your muscles to your bones, and they're holding bones together, so they need to be strong. A second type of dense connective tissue is irregular. And it is strong, but all the collagen is running in many directions, not just one direction. So not quite as strong as regular, but still strong. And you find that covering the joints and also organs. And the third type of dense connective tissue is elastic. It has a lot of elastic fibers, and if something's elastic like a rubber band, that means it's going to stretch and bounce back. So this kind of connective tissue would be found in organs or locations of the body that need to stretch and bounce back, like your arteries and your bronchi, which are the tubes that go to your lungs. They need to stretch. When you're breathing in and out, they stretch and bounce back. Your second connective tissue page looks at two other types of cell derivatives. Chondrocytes make cartilage, and there's three different kinds of cartilage. This first one here is called hyaline. So you're going to move that label over to that little square. And this is where the cells secrete ground substance, fibers, collagen, and fluid. And this ground substance at first is fluid, but then it becomes calcified or hard. So you would find this cartilage between your vertebrae. So it needs to be a little bit harder than other types of cartilage. Fibrocartilage contains lots of collagen, mostly running parallel. And this is the one in between your vertebrae, not the hyaline. The third type is elastic cartilage. This is very flexible because of the elastic fibers. There's that bounce back word again, elastic. And you find these in your outer ear and the tip of your nose. So touch your ear right now and you can see how much it bends and moves. That's the flexibility from the elastic fibers that are in that cartilage. And also the tip of your nose, you can move that easily. The fourth type of connective tissue cell are the blood cells, and they make up the tissue blood. And you would think it's hard to think of blood as being a tissue, but it is because it's made of different cells working together. One type of cell is mast cell, so drag this word over. These detect foreign substances, and they contain what are called granules or little pieces that can secrete inflammatory chemicals, which will help you fight this foreign infection. We'll talk more about that when we do circulatory system. Then you have macrophages, which are blob-like cells that can engulf invaders and eat them. And then blood cells, you have red blood cells, which provide oxygen to the cells, and they look like a donut. And then the white blood cells fight off foreign infections. So that is your connective tissue video. And so we will stop here and I'll pick up the third video to talk about muscles and nerves.